you ever looked around and wondered why certain people or companies or even songs just seem to win? And I mean win big while everyone else is just sort of treading water? Well, it might feel random, but it's really not. Underneath it all, there are these hidden rules. And today, we're going to decode the 3 fundamental ways people play the game to get to the top.
All right, let's start with a really simple question. Think about the last song you streamed. Who do you think decided you should hear that song? You probably think, well, I did, or maybe the algorithm did. But the truth is, that choice was probably made for you long before you ever hit play.
And here's why. Just look at these numbers for a second. 3 companies, Universal, Sony, and Warner, control over 70% of the entire global music market. They're the ones who decide which artists get pushed, which songs get played. They are the gatekeepers.
So there's actually an economic term for this whole setup, an oligopoly. It's a classic power structure where just a handful of huge players get to call all the shots. And they don't just influence the market for all practical purposes, they are the market. But here's where it gets really interesting. This isn't some shady corporate plot. This kind of concentration of power, it's a pattern that shows up absolutely everywhere. It happens with the size of cities, the number of followers an influencer has, even the intensity of wildfires. It's basically a law of nature.
And the first principle that explains this is something called the power law. All it means is that in pretty much any system you look at, a tiny number of superstars, whether it's songs or athletes or companies, get the lion's share of all the rewards. And then everybody else gets the leftovers. You've probably heard of this as the Pareto principle or the 80-20 rule, right? It's the same idea. It means something like 80% of a record label's revenue comes from just 20% of its artists. It's a totally predictable, natural imbalance. So what keeps this engine running? It's a feedback loop called the Matthew effect. Basically, success breeds success. The more famous an artist gets, the more opportunities they get, which leads to even more success. It's this self-reinforcing cycle where the winners just keep on winning. So, okay, hierarchies are natural. The real question is, how do you get to the top? So, if you want to climb these natural hierarchies, humans have really only figured out 2 main playbooks. One is based on force, and the other one is based on earning respect. And this table here lays it out perfectly. On one side, you've got your coercive dominance, the might is right strategy. You take your rank by force, it's super unstable, and the people below you, they're motivated by fear and resentment. Then on the other side, you have prestige-based dominance, or what you could call pro-social leadership. Here, your rank is freely given to you because of your skills. It's way more stable, and your followers feel genuine admiration. But that pro-social path has a really weird dark side. Because sometimes, the most powerful move you can make is to help your competition. And that's where things get really, really complicated. It's when a gift becomes a weapon. Let me give you a classic example. Picture this. It's 1997. Apple is just weeks away from going bankrupt. And who swoops in to save them? Their number 1 rival, Microsoft, with a $150 million investment. The crowd at the announcement actually booed Bill Gates' face on the screen. Steve Jobs had to get up there and say this to calm them down. But was this really about helping? See, what Microsoft did was spring the altruism trap. By taking that money, Apple was now publicly in Microsoft's debt. It was a huge hit to their status, and it framed any success they had from that point on as only possible because their enemy showed them mercy. It's an incredibly subtle but powerful way to dominate someone. And this isn't just some old business story. You can see it playing out right now in the chess world. Magnus Carlsen, widely seen as the best, gave up his official title. Gugesh D then won it. So officially, Gugesh is the champ. But in the court of public opinion, Carlsen still has the prestige of the true number 1. Every time Carlsen praises Gugesh, it can be seen as this kind of strategic help. It reinforces his own status as the ultimate judge of who's really good. You know, this whole thing often triggers this weird reaction in us. It's called do-gooder derogation. It's that feeling you get when someone is just a little too perfect, a little too helpful. We get suspicious. We start to think their good deeds are just a strategy to make themselves look good, which in turn makes us feel small, and we resent them for it. Okay, so we've got the path of might, just take what you want. And we have the tricky path of merit, win people over. But what if there's a third way? What if there's a totally different operating system you can run? I mean, what if your entire strategy is to have no strategy? What if you just completely ignore all the social games, all the posturing for dominance and prestige, and you just focus on one thing? And this brings us to our third archetype, the honest dominant. The profile here is fascinating. These people are defined by an almost compulsive honesty, an intense, almost inhuman hyperfocus on a task, and they are genuinely oblivious to social status. They just don't care. Their power doesn't come from playing the game well. It comes from a totally different way of thinking. This creates what some call the fortunate paradox. On one hand, the advantage is huge. While everyone else is wasting brain power on politics and social games, this person is putting 100% of their focus on the actual task, and they become incredible at it. The risk, though, is that the very same focus makes them blind to social threats. They're incredibly vulnerable to being sabotaged by the people who are playing the game. For these people, the motto isn't might is right, it's competence is right. Just look at these examples. Temple Grandin didn't win over the meat industry with charm. Her designs were just so much better that they couldn't afford to ignore them. Or Andres Freund, this one engineer who basically saved the internet from a massive cyber attack because a tiny 500 millisecond delay was bothering him. Their competence was so undeniable that it just bypassed all the usual gatekeepers. And this third path, this competence is right idea, it has an ultimate expression, a final move that is so powerful it literally changes the entire game for everyone. And that ultimate archetype is Satoshi Nakamoto, the anonymous creator of Bitcoin. We don't know if it was one person or a group, but their behavior was the perfect embodiment of the honest dominant. And this was their masterstroke, a brilliant three-step play. Step 1, build the truth. Create a perfect, trustless system based on pure mathematics. Step 2, remove the gatekeepers. Use that truth to make the biggest gatekeepers of all, the banks, obsolete. And then, the most important step, step 3, simply leave. Just disappear.
This was Satoshi's final public message. I've moved on to other things. By walking away, they proved it was never about ego or power or control. And that absolute lack of social need, that's what makes the system itself so hard to corrupt. It was the ultimate flex of competence-based dominance. So it all leaves us with this one final question to think about. In a world that's just built on these natural hierarchies and power games, what is the ultimate power move? Is it to master the rules and fight your way to the top of the throne? Or is it to build an entirely new game, a whole new version of the truth, and then have the strength to just walk away?